Alright you guys, this is part 3 of the Super Cub build. Part 2 we finished up the bottom and the sides of our fuselage. There's our wing mount that we just stuck in there for the time being. Here I went ahead and cut out the rest of the parts of the plans. Top of the cowl, bottom of the cowl, top of the motor, this is the motor mount, and it's going to be made of balsa wood. I just cut it out of foam for now. Top of the windshield, front of the cowl. Here we got our rudder. Alright, so we're going to pick up here, and I'm going to go ahead take the fuselage, two sides of the fuselage and the bottom. Now these are from the plans that we cut out the two sides of the jet, or of our Super Cub. I'm just going to go ahead and lay it on there. Now remember, this is the right side. You can see where it's marked with a rudder control rod. There's a black hole there. I'm just going to take and mark where that is. Remember, it's on the inside of the plans. So there's for your rudder. Now I'll take the left side of the fuselage, take and turn the plans inward, lay it on here. Again, I'm just going to mark the hole for where your control rod's going to come through. And this is for your elevator. You guys can see right through the paper, so there's where our control rods are going to come through on this plane. And I'll widen those out later on. I just wanted to mark them down so I knew where they were. Alright, we're going to get right back into assembling the fuselage. Now I'll go ahead and leave my wing mount in here. Put it right where it needs to be. We're going to take our windshield, which was just all straight cuts. And then we're going to take the top of the cowl, go ahead and push it up where, make sure the front top of the cowl is lined up with the nose of the plane, nice and even. Make sure everything lines up real nice. Now the access at the top there, we're going to leave that overhang until we get our wing on there, and we'll cut it back. But right now I just want to make sure I glue this windshield right where it needs to be. So go ahead and get some hot glue on that. Put her right on there. Make sure you keep the nose nice and even. Alright, now while that's setting up, I'm going to take our servo mount that I already cut out. You got two servos cut out where they're going to mount. Then you can see here we got the piece for where the control rods are going to go through. So I'm going to go ahead and leave the plans on there. I'm going to use my poker stick to mark these. This is where your push rods are going to come through and hook to your servos. Now as you can see on the plans that I cut out, you can see where mounts on there. One will mount right there. So go ahead and just eyeball this up. About right there. Alright, so now this is the plans for the bottom of the fuselage that we cut out. I just took and kept the pieces from where we scored it. And again, this piece here is going to be made of 1/4 inch balsa, which I got here. I got 1/4 inch by 3 inch width. And I just went ahead and laid it on there, traced it out, and this is going to be for the bottom of the fuselage, for where your landing gear is going to be cut into it, and also your wing struts are going to screw into it. And here we got our motor mount, which is going to be in the nose of the plane, and it'll also be cut out of balsa. But I'll show you when I'm finished with part 4. I'll go ahead and install the balsa then. I'll show you the finished product of that. Alright, now once you glue your windshield on, make sure you don't glue on your top of your cowl. You want to leave that off so you can get your piece of balsa wood in here, mount your motor, put your ESC in here. So we're going to go ahead and move to gluing in our servo mount. Now you guys can take the plans again. It's a good reason to keep these around. Just going to lay them in the top here and mark off where it's going to mount in, just a general area. There's the front, the back. And that'll just give you an idea where this has got to go. If you guys have it a little further forward, it's fine. But I don't want it too far back, so you'll move the center of gravity around. But you want to put your servos, you want this to mount in the center of the fuselage. So it's in the center between top and bottom here. As you can see, looking down in there. So what I'm going to do is put that in there where I want it. Make sure everything looks like it's going to line up good. It does. So once you got that located inside your fuselage, just take and mark it with a pen real fast. So I know where it goes when I get the hot glue on it. Go ahead and glue this down in there. Start from up here and push it right to the back. Get any of that excess glue out of there. So there's where my servos are going to mount. Then my push rods will come through. Push rods will come out tail. Alright, now I'm going to move on to I'll go ahead and stick my wing on here. Make sure it's nice and centered. Very important that you center this nice. I'm just going to eyeball it. Nice and even. I'm going to go ahead and trace out on the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that wing mount onto the wing. Just like so. Now for your wing mount, you're just going to want to score it 3 times, just like you did your wing to create your airfoil, where you got your 3 score lines. So I'll just go ahead and mark this with a pen, just to show where the score lines are going to be. Got to be nothing fancy. Want it to fold open, so I'm just going to score these lines. So they're nice and even. So there we got our wing mount. I scored it. So that way it'll take the same shape as the airfoil that we created on the wing. And all I'm going to do is center that in between the lines I marked. Let's go ahead and hot glue this on. I want to try to get a lot of hot glue on this because this is going to be what holds the main wing on real nice. Run out of glue. Again, just taking center it on there between your lines. Just like so. That way our wing will mount in here real nice. Looks real good and straight and even. Locks in nice and tight. Now where your windshield meets up with the top of your wing, you can just take and trim that back. And all I'll do is make sure you got a nice sharp razor knife. Stick it up there on the foam. And just make sure you don't cut into your wing. Just take and trim this back. It gives it this nice finished look. Now you guys can use the metal ruler if you want to make that perfect, but me, I'll go ahead and do that, and then this is all going to get packing taped anyway. If you got any extra, just go back and trim it off. You want it nice and flush to your wing. Our little trick is to finish off something, you just run a metal ruler over it. Just like that, you guys. That looks real good. Now, for your tail, here I went ahead and already cut out my elevator And here I cut out of the plans and I just went ahead and V-notched it instead of cutting it off. That way you ain't got to use no tape or nothing. And that's for you, Sean. Same thing with the rudder. Just take and move these plans off the side. Went ahead and straight cut out the rudder. Cut the top and V-notched out on the left hand side. You want your V-notch to be on the left hand side of your rudder because your control horn is going to go on the right hand side for your rudder. Just like so. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and mount my tail on here, my elevator. When you guys do this, you want to make sure it's nice and straight with the wing, and also nice and straight with the body. So usually what I'll do is line it up real nice where I want it. And you can start marking it with a pen so you know where to put it back when you hot glue it. I'll go ahead and hot glue this on. Don't be shy on the hot glue on this area. Go ahead and line it back up. There marks. Again, make sure it's nice and even with the wings. I put a lot of hot glue so I can move it around. And you not only want it even with the wings that way, but you want it nice and even this way. You can even stand it up and still move it around a little. There we go, you can see it's nice and straight with the wings. Also nice and straight that way. Looks good. Now for my elevator, where you just got a little piece of foam here connecting the two sides, I like to tape these little popsicle sticks I get from the craft store. I'm taking hot glue one of these puppies right across there. Go ahead and get a good amount of hot glue on it. Set it on there and push it down. Make sure you get it on there real nice. That's going to strengthen up your elevator where the two pieces connect. Good to go. Alright, we'll keep that over there. Alright, now we're moving on to some top of the fuselage behind the wing, between the elevator and the wing. And I made these pieces a little big so you can trim it to fit. So I'll go ahead and do is line it up back there. Go ahead and mark it where I need to trim it. trim off this little excess here. I'd rather take off too little than too much right away, so I just went ahead and trimmed up a little bit of it. There we go. Perfect. Alright, now what I like to do here, guys, is once I fit this piece in, is I'm going to go ahead and mark a line about, I'm going about 2 inches up here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this in half right now, because I want to make a hatch to get in through the top to hook up the control rods. So let's go ahead and do that. I went ahead and marked it about 2 inches up from the tail. Let's pull this back out of here. And if you want, go ahead and 45 it. 45 cut it toward the front. And now I'll just glue this piece on and leave this one off as a hatch for now, so you can get in there and put all your control rods and goodies in there. So let's go ahead and hot glue this on. Push it up nice and tight to the tail. Wipe off any excess glue, guys, before it sets up. Alright, looks good. Looks all even. My buddy Sean wanted me to go ahead and show you how to cut out for your hinges without using tape. So again, you just go ahead and 45 out from the back of the cardboard here. Don't cut all the way through, just score it and then 45 both edges. Alright, I'll move on to the rudder and the vertical stabilizer. And that's why I wanted to go ahead and glue the 2-inch piece on, because the rudder overhangs it. And what I did was I went ahead and made a little CA hinge. You can pick up some CA hinges for this if you want, but I made this out of a little Lowe's card or a Toys R Us card, and I'm just going to make it like a CA hinge. And this is material is more like your Visa or debit card. It's plastic and it bends real nice without breaking. So I'm going to go ahead and put that CA hinge in there. You want to install it right in the back of your rudder here. Just like so. I'll go ahead and hot glue that in. I like to use hot glue instead of foam safe glue for these. Makes it a lot stronger. So there, I got my CA hinge, all homemade CA hinge there. Alright. Now when we put the two sides of the fuselage together with the bottom, we had an opening in the back here. And that was for our tail to slide up into here. It's going to be just like that. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and set this in here, line it up nice and straight, make sure everything works nice, nothing's binding up and down, left and right. I'll go ahead and mark it with a pen. So I know right where to set it back on. That looks damn good. Alright, now I'll hit bottom of the stabilizer fin, and then I'll go ahead and hit inside the back here with hot glue for that CA hinge. So I'm going to hit here first. Don't be afraid to apply some hot glue on your stabilizer fin, and go ahead and fill up this channel with hot glue in the back here. Go ahead and line it up. Right on our marks we made. Now you want to look down your bird, make sure your tail's standing nice and straight. Just like so. Sure everything's lined up nice. Alright guys, looking good, turning out sweet. There we got our rudder, our elevator. Alright, now I'm going to move on to some of these other pieces real quick here. Here's the front of our cowl, the bottom of our cowl. Now remember again, for the top of the cowl, don't hot glue that on until once you get your motor and everything else assembled in there. Your balsa wood all cut out for your motor mount, your motor and ESC hooked up. Then again, I went ahead and you can see where we cut the top of the fuselage. We cut 2 inches off the back of it just to mount it so we can get our rudder and vertical stabilizer fin assembled. Now I'm not even gonna, this is the front of the cowl where your motor is going to come through. Now I cut out mine for I use a Super Tiger 400 electric, and I'm running an 18 amp Dynam ESC, and then I run a 3 cell 2200 milliamp 30C discharge LiPo. That's a good little power unit. I mean, you guys can step it up if you want a little bit bigger motor, more powerful, whatever you want to do. I just like easy flying with these Super Cubs, so the Super Tiger motor gives me plenty enough power. So here you can see where the front of your cowl is going to mount. Now I got to do I'm going to do all my paint work before I go clear taping anything. So I'll show you how I paint these. I'll get to that in part 4. So when I get done painting, you'll see I have all this stuff all mounted. There's the front of the cowl.